No one. There was nothing to say anymore. In half a month, when everything was settled, I'd leave quietly without looking back. Chapter 2, the fever came suddenly, hitting me like wildfire. My skin burned, my chest heaved. Even breathing felt like dragging knives through my lungs. In a haze, I dialed 911, and the next thing I knew, flashing red lights carried me to the hospital, alone. By the time the 4-drip had finished, dawn was breaking, painting the sky with its first pale light. I pulled the needle from my arm and stepped into the hallway. That's when I heard a voice I knew all too well. "Willow, it's all my fault. My body's too weak. Just one ice cream, and now I've got gastroenteritis. You had to stay with me all night because of it." My footsteps faltered. Through the glass door ahead, I saw them. Makoto, lying in bed, voice frail, while Willow sat aside. She held a thermos in her hands, carefully cooling spoonfuls of soup before feeding him. Her face softer than I had ever seen. "You've suffered too much since you were little," she whispered. "That's why your health is poor. Don't worry, I'll stay with you. We'll get you better, little by little." Makoto smiled, basking in her tenderness. But then, as if remembering something, he hesitated. "Willow, you can go home all night. Won't George mind?" Her smile vanished, replaced by indifference. "He has no right to mind." The words sliced through me like glass. 11 years of love. 3 years as her official boyfriend. And yet, all I was worth to her was a cold dismissal. "You have no right." My body weakened. I leaned against the wall, head heavy, heart heavier. That's when I heard footsteps. Sharp, hurried, and then her face appeared, Maria, my adoptive sister. Her eyes were as frigid as her voice. "What are you doing here? What are you planning to do to Makoto?" Makoto had been back for only 3 days, and already, after one car accident, the entire family believed I was behind it. No matter how I explained, they saw only a schemer desperate to hold onto his place. To them, to Willow, I wasn't a brother or a fiancé. I was a threat. "Sis," I rasped, but the word felt lifeless between us. Maria didn't even look at me. She brushed past, staring through glass at Willow and Makoto. They sat close together, reading quietly. She didn't need long to understand what she saw. Her expression hardened, and she shoved me roughly aside, ignoring my fever, my weakness. "I know what you're thinking," she hissed. "You saw them together and got jealous, didn't you?" I nearly laughed. After everything, after being Willow's boyfriend for years, this was the accusation I faced? Don't I have the right to be jealous? I growled. "She's my girlfriend." Maria scoffed, her tone icy. "George Ito, you really are shameless. You stole Makoto's place in this family. You lived off our wealth for 11 years. And now, you think it all belongs to you?" Her eyes cut into me. "Wake up. Everything you have should have been his. If you had even a shred of decency, you'd break up with Willow. If Makoto can finally smile again, maybe we'll treat you like we used to. Like before?" I almost choked on the thought. What was before? Being berated, scolded, reminded daily that I was never good enough, that no matter how perfect my grades, my achievements, my efforts, I would never be him? Never Makoto. My eyes burned red. My voice shook. It wasn't my choice to join this family. Your parents adopted me. And now that Makoto is back, I'm willing to give it all up. I'll leave. I'll return everything to him. But tell me, why won't you let me go? Maria's gaze was sharp, merciless. Why? Obviously not, because we can't bear to part with you. It's about the Ito family's reputation. Her words crashed down like thunder. My knees weakened, my chest hollowed. Reputation. That was all I ever was to them. They couldn't be seen as a heartless family who abandoned the adopted son after finding their real one. So they kept me, trapped, discarded, forced to watch Makoto take everything that had ever mattered to me. For over a decade, I thought I was part of their family. But the truth was brutal. I was never family. I was just a placeholder, a stand-in, a body to fill the void until the real son came home. Chapter 3, I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Not one person came. Not one message, not one visit. When I finally returned to the villa, suitcase in hand, the house was as empty as my heart. Cold walls, silent rooms. Willow hadn't been back in days. She was with Makoto the whole time. This place had once been a gift from Willow for my 20th birthday. I had cherished it, believed it was our home. But now, Willow was no longer mine. And this villa, it was just a hollow building, stripped of every memory that had once made it warm. I swallowed my medicine and sank into the lounge chair by the pool. Alone, the sun was warm on my face as I lay half asleep by the pool, trying to forget the fever still lingering in my body. I didn't know how much time had passed, until a shadow blocked the light. Opening my eyes, I saw him, Makoto, standing there with that smug little smirk. "George, you're awake. I came over just to thank you," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Thanks for giving up that guaranteed graduate school spot you worked 3 years for and handing it to me." I sat up slowly, my chest tightening. "How did you even get in?" The question slipped out before I could stop myself. Only Willow and I had the keys. Makoto chuckled, covering his mouth like it was some private joke. "Come on, who else?" Of course Willow gave it to me. She's been staying at my place these past few days. She had something to do today and asked me to grab some clothes for her. His words hit like poison, crawling under my skin. My stomach churned with disgust. I swallowed it down, forced my voice flat. "Second floor. Get what you need, then leave." But he didn't leave. Instead, he dropped into a chair by the pool, lazily kicking at the water. "George," he said almost playfully, "I heard you can't swim. So tell me, who do you think Willow built this pool for, huh?" "Oh, wait, you probably don't know. I've loved swimming since I was a kid. Won championships, too." His shrill voice scratched in my ears, every word meant to cut. I clenched my jaw and shot back coldly. "Then swim all you want. Since you're incapable of doing anything else, at least keeping your body healthy might spare your parents some worry." The smirk vanished, his face twisted, eyes burning. He shot up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I turned to walk inside, but before I could get away, his hand clamped around my arm, and in an instant, he yanked us both toward the pool. My body lurched, ready to crash into the freezing water, until 2 figures rushed forward, grabbing us just in time. Makoto twisted free first, and before I could even catch my breath, he cried out pitifully, "Dad, Mom." George tried to push me into the water. My stomach still isn't better yet. "I didn't, it was him." The words tumbled out, desperate. But before I could finish, I saw their faces, Mr. and Mrs. Ito, eyes blazing with disgust. "We heard from your sister you've been in the hospital," Mr. Ito said, his voice cutting. "We were going to check on you." "But George, how could you be so cruel? What has Makoto ever done to you? Why do you keep going after him? Are you trying to kill him?" The scolding came like a storm. Every word pounded down until I had no strength left to resist. I lowered my head, silent, swallowing their accusations like I always had. But this time wasn't like before. This time, Mr. Ito's rage boiled over. His foot slammed into my waist, sending me crashing into the pool. Cold water swallowed me whole. I thrashed, panic burning through me, but my body was too weak. I couldn't swim. My lungs screamed for air, my arms flailed helplessly. Above the water, I saw them, the perfect family of 3, walking back inside together, hand in hand. Their voices floated back, sharp and cruel. "It's just a pool, he won't drown." He tried to push Makoto in, let him taste what it feels like to freeze in the water. My body sank deeper, the world fading. All I could feel was the ache of betrayal and the bitter thought that I hadn't even met my real parents yet. Would they have spoiled me, cared for me, even half as much as the Itos did Makoto? Then, splash, a black figure dove in. Strong arms dragged me to the edge. I coughed, sputtering water, clinging to life. And when my vision cleared, I saw her, Willow, standing there beside the bodyguard who had pulled me out. For a heartbeat, warmth flickered in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, she still cared. But her eyes turned cold in an instant. "George, when will this end?" she snapped. Wasn't causing Makoto's car accident enough? Now you're trying to harm him again? Her words froze me more than the water had. She didn't even give me a chance to explain before Makoto came running, tugging at her sleeve, lip quivering, voice soft. Willow, don't blame George. Maybe he didn't mean it. Willow patted his hand gently, reassuring him. Makoto, don't defend him. He'll never change. Then her gaze dropped on me like a blade. George, for the sake of how long we've known each other, I let someone save you this once. But if there's a next time, I won't show you any mercy. I collapsed onto tiles, soaked clothes clinging to me, cold cutting through bone. But nothing was colder than the truth settling in my chest. No matter what happened, no matter how much I bled, they always believed him, always cast me as the villain. And the one left broken every single time was me. Chapter for dragging myself into the house. I felt their laughter die the moment they saw me. For pairs of eyes turned, looking at me not like family, but like a trespasser. I tried to climb the stairs, each step heavy with water and shame. Then Makoto's voice cut through the silence. Oh no, my jade ring. It's gone. Did I drop in the pool just now? His tone was sharp, aimed straight at me. My gut twisted. I knew what he was doing. I quickened my steps, hoping to escape his game. But Mr. Ito's voice cracked like a whip. George, stop right there. Did you throw Makoto's jade ring into the pool? I turned slowly, my body trembling from fever and exhaustion. It wasn't me. I rasped. I didn't push him. I didn't throw his ring. But my words meant nothing, because to them, I was already guilty. Mrs. Ito's voice cut through the villa like broken glass, sharp and relentless. And there was Makoto, clutching Willow's hand, tears in his eyes as he spoke with a trembling voice. If it were just any ring, I wouldn't care. But this one, it's the only thing Mom and Dad gave me. All those years I was gone, this was the only thing that kept me alive. Those words pierced the air like a dagger. Mrs. Ito broke instantly, her grief spilling over as she pulled Makoto into her arms, sobbing as if she could feel every ounce of his pain. Mr. Ito's fury, on the other hand, came boiling to the surface. Without hesitation, he stormed up the stairs, ripped me down by the arm, and spat his venom. Jealous, aren't you, George? If you don't find that ring today, I swear you'll regret it. His grip was iron, dragging me toward the pool like I was nothing more than a criminal awaiting sentence. I turned desperately toward Willow, begging silently for her to step in. But her eyes, cold, detached, offered no mercy. She didn't even hesitate. She fetched a diving mask, shoved it into my hands, and said flatly, "Put this on, find the ring." I shook my head. A flicker of steel hardened her tone. "This is what you owe him." And just like that, they strapped a mask to my face. Mr. Ito shoved me into the water. From above, I could hear them laughing, chatting casually, as if I weren't gasping in the freezing dark. Each time I slowed, Mr. Ito slammed a pole against the water, barking at me to move faster. I kept my head down, dragging my body across the bottom, fingertips brushing blindly against tiles as night fell and the cold bit deeper into my bones. Hours passed. My breath came ragged. When I surfaced, gasping, Willow's voice cut through the dark like ice. "Makoto can't sleep without that ring. Don't waste time. Until you find it, you're not coming out." For hours in the black water, until my numb fingers finally closed around the jade ring wedged near the drain. I dragged myself out of the pool, body trembling, clothes clinging to me like ice. They didn't even offer a hand. They just snatched the ring, looked down at me with disdain, and walked away. Makoto tucked safely between them, Willow chasing after him without so much as a glance back. I lay there, shivering, listening to their laughter fade into the distance, until all that was left was silence. And then nothing. 2 days later, I woke alone in that villa, my body aching, my soul already hollowed out. That was the moment I made the call. My voice low, steady certain, forget the short-term visa. Help me apply for permanent residency. On the other end of the line, my biological parents exploded with joy. But me? I felt nothing. just a heavy ache in my chest. Leaving the city I'd lived in for 20 years felt like ripping myself out of my own skin. The future ahead was uncertain, terrifying even. I didn't know if my real parents would love me, or if they'd even treat me as their own. But one thing was clear. Whatever waited for me couldn't possibly be worse than what I was leaving behind. So I began the endless process. Papers, documents, embassy visits. The last time I stepped out of that embassy, a blur of red streaked past me. A Ferrari. Not just any Ferrari, one of only 100 in the world. And in this city, it belonged to only one person. Willow. My heart faltered for a second, but then I reminded myself, her world was already full with Makoto. Someone like me was just background noise. That night, I sat on the floor of the villa, the TV blaring to drown out the silence. And then, the sound of the lock turning. I looked up. Willow stood in the doorway. Her voice carried an edge, almost accusing. "Where you going?" Calmly, I answered. "What's wrong?" She narrowed her eyes. "I saw you at the U.S. Embassy today. What were you doing there?" I forced a small smile, feeding her the story I'd rehearsed. "Our research group is finishing a project. My advisor signed me up for an academic conference in the U.S. I'll be presenting our findings." Willow's gaze softened, just a little. A flicker of something passed over her face before she masked it again. She wanted to believe I'd never leave. After all, for years, I'd only ever had her. She was my anchor, the only warmth I'd clung to in that cold house. That kind of devotion doesn't vanish overnight. So she smiled faintly, stepped closer, and wrapped her arms around me like nothing had changed. "Want to watch a movie?" I almost asked her why she wasn't with Makoto. Almost, but I swallowed the words. This was her pattern, punishment, then comfort. So I said nothing. I just pressed play on an old romance film. Tears stinging my eyes as Willow sat beside me, her attention fixed more on her phone than the screen. By the time the credits rolled and the theme song played, I stood up quietly, the weight of everything pressing down harder than ever. "I'm tired," I said quietly, turning away. Step by step, I dragged myself upstairs. Willow's voice followed me, cold and deliberate. "Tomorrow, at the AC Hotel, we're celebrating Makoto's grad school acceptance. You're his big brother. Don't forget to bring a gift." I didn't answer. I didn't even look back. The next morning, a box arrived at my door. Inside was a diamond watch so expensive it could blind you under the light. A note sat neatly beside it. "Congratulations to Makoto on getting what he always wanted. Signed, George." A bitter smile crept onto my lips. Willow was meticulous, always tying up loose ends. But was it for me, or just for Makoto? By the time I reached the hotel, laughter and cheer were already spilling out of the private room. My hand hovered on the doorknob. I knew the moment I walked in, the warmth inside would die. No one wanted me there. But if I didn't show up, they'd call me ungrateful. Either way, I lost. Then came the sound of the glass shattering. I froze, peering through the door's glass panel. Makoto sat there pouting. The grin wiped clean off his face. Mrs. Ito leaned in immediately. "What's wrong, Makoto?" He sighed, voice dripping with grievance. "It's nothing, just that George's experiment succeeded. Everyone's congratulating him in the group chat." The smile on Mr. Ito's face vanished. Maria snatched the phone from Makoto's hands, scrolling furiously. The group chat was proof enough. Today was the official announcement of graduate placements. At first, all eyes were on Makoto, praise flowing like wine. But then news of my experiment hit. The tone shifted instantly. Suddenly, all the admiration was mine. Words like genius, fast-track PhD filled the screen. Makoto's spotlight had been stolen. Maria's face twisted with rage. She slammed the phone down. That George, he planned this. He waited for today just to humiliate Makoto. Mrs. Ito joined in, her voice sharp with anger, always desperate for attention. When his family ignores him, he goes flaunting himself at school. How vicious. Mr. Ito grabbed his phone, fury burning in his eyes. He stole everything from Makoto. What's he so proud of? I'll call him right now. But Maria's eyes lit with something darker. She pressed his hand down, smirking. No, Dad. If we call him, he'll just show up shamelessly like always. I have a better idea. Something that'll finally silence him for good. Everyone leaned closer. What is it? Her voice dripped with poison. It's just an experiment. Who cares who did it? We'll say it was Makoto. He'll be the genius, the one destined for a PhD. George will have nothing left. Makoto shot up, excitement replacing his sulk. Big, sis, you're brilliant. Mr. and Mrs. Ito nodded eagerly. You're right. Everything George is now was supposed to be Makoto's. We raised him for over a decade. Taking this from him is only fair. Maria glowed with triumph, but even she knew George would never listen to her. So her eyes shifted toward Willow, and that was the moment my heart stopped. From outside the door I stood frozen, fists clenched so tightly my nails cut into my skin. I had always known the Ito family never saw me as one of their own, but hearing them casually scheme to strip me bare, hearing them reduce years of my blood, sweat, and tears into something Makoto could just inherit, shredded what was left of me. And then came the voice I dreaded most. Willow. Her answer was clear. Steady. Unflinching. All right, I'll talk to George. We'll have him give the results to Makoto. The words felt like ice water pouring down my spine. I didn't go back to the villa. I buried myself in the lab instead, shutting off my phone, cutting the world away. But Willow found me anyway. She always did. The dean had given her a key, and I had nowhere left to hide. Under the dim lab lights, I lifted my head. My face was hollow, my eyes bloodshot, every ounce of me drained. She walked toward me slowly, lips curved higher than usual, like she was rehearsing her role. Working late again? Didn't you say the experiment already succeeded? My voice cracked as I forced a reply. Yeah, it did. She leaned in, wrapping me in a gentle hug. Congratulations, George. For a fleeting moment, I closed my eyes, clinging to hope. Hope that maybe, for once, her words were real. That maybe she meant it. But when I opened them again, her gaze had hardened. Her tone shifted back to that cold, merciless calm. George, give this research result to Makoto. The words hit like a sledgehammer to chest. Even though I had expected it, hearing her say it out loud still shattered me. I tried to breathe, tried to steady myself. But then she continued, her reasoning cutting deeper with each word. You're smart, talented, you'll succeed again. But Makoto, he's just starting grad school. He needs papers. Without them, his path will be too hard. That was it. The dam broke. I slammed my palms against the table, my voice raw with pain. I'm smart. I'm talented. Don't you see the work I've done? The nights I've slept on this floor, the burns on my hands, the years I've given? I poured everything into this project. And now that I've finally achieved something, you want to hand it over? Willow, do you even have a heart? The words tumbled out, desperate, broken. But Willow's patience thinned with each syllable. Her eyes sharpened. Her voice turned to ice. She looked at me, not with love, not with pity, not even with anger, just cold certainty. She looked at me with that practiced calm and said the words like they were the simplest truth in the world. Yes, you've worked hard, but so what? Don't forget where you come from. You lived under the Ito family roof for more than 10 years, taking Makoto's place. Isn't it only fair to give something back now? A small sacrifice for him? You should at least know how to be grateful. Don't be the kind of man who only takes and never gives, an ingrate. And then came the final blow. Don't worry. As long as you let Makoto have this one, I won't break up with you. Just take it as compensation for him. Compensation. Ingrate. The moment those words left her lips, something in me snapped. A laugh escaped me. Harsh, bitter, broken. My chest tightened as I clutched at it, staring at the woman I had loved for 11 long years. After everything, that was all I was to her, a parasite who should be thankful for scraps. For the first time, I pushed Willow away. If that's how you see me, then so be it. But I won't give Makoto my research. Not this time. I won't back down again. And with that, I walked out, never once looking back. Willow's eyes followed me, cold, sharp, unflinching, like the edge of a blade. I didn't return to the villa. There was nothing left there worth holding on to. Instead, I rented a small place near the university, bare and empty, but it was enough. All I wanted now was to finish my report, guard the results that belonged to me, and then disappear from this place for good. For a week, I hid in silence. No calls, no messages from Willow. I thought maybe she had finally given up. Laptop in hand, I returned to lab to finish writing. But when I tried to enter, the scanner rejected me again and again. Access denied. Confused, I pulled out my phone. Professor, my car isn't working. What's going on? The voice on the other end was colder than I had ever heard. George, starting today, you are no longer part of this lab. You're not allowed to enter. It felt like thunder striking me where I stood. My knees nearly buckled. Why? Why all of a sudden? But there was no answer, only the flat, merciless tone of a disconnected call. I rushed to my laptop, hoping it was just a mistake, but the truth was staring back at me. Every permission revoked, every file locked. My research, the work of endless nights and burned hands, erased from my reach. I ran to the academic affairs office in anger, but my advisor wasn't there. Instead, a kind professor pulled me aside, lowering his voice. George, don't bother. This wasn't your advisor's choice. His hands are tied. And in that instant, I knew. It wasn't hard to guess who had this kind of power. Only two families in the city could silence both a university and a professor. The Lius and the Itos. Willow hadn't given up after I rejected her. She had simply chosen a different weapon. Meanwhile, the department's group chat was exploding. Makoto's breakthrough was suddenly everywhere. Experts praising his genius. Classmates flooding the thread with congratulations. Makoto himself, basking in the glow, posted, "Thank you, everyone. I've been working so hard for so long. I'm thrilled it finally paid off. Dinner's on me at the AC Hotel tonight. Don't miss it." Wow, AC Hotel? That's expensive. Please, Makoto's the Ito heir. That's nothing to him. He's brilliant, handsome, kind, total legend. Amid the flood of praise, one quiet voice cut through. But Makoto's research looks exactly like George's. Could it be copied it? The group froze. Silence hung heavy. Elsewhere, Makoto's hands trembled around his phone, the smile on his face cracking. Sis, what do I do? George already published his results. Now everyone thinks I stole it. But Maria only laughed. Relax. Your big sister planned for this. Just leave it to me. And within the hour, a post went viral across the university forum. Makoto's research journal. Laid out in detail, a story of a supposed year-long experiment. At the bottom, my name appeared in bold letters, tied to a single devastating line. Plagiarism is shameful. The effect was immediate. The forums lit up. Students raged. My name, once tied to scholarships and achievements, was now smeared across every campus feed. Plagiarist. That was the word on every tongue. I walked through the university like a ghost, whispers snapping at my heels. That's him. The plagiarist. How shameless. I tried to fight back. I screamed that the work was mine, that I had bled for it, burned for it, sacrificed everything for it. But the louder I raged, the more their stares turned to pity and contempt. My words were drowned out by the tide. And then came the call from the academic affairs office. George, we reviewed the evidence with your advisor and classmates. The accusations are true. Our school has zero tolerance for plagiarism. You are hereby expelled. The day I returned to sign the withdrawal papers, the university gates were a circus. Students, reporters, cameras, all of them waiting, hungry for a glimpse of the fallen star. In just a matter of days, that single forum post had spread beyond campus, across neighboring schools, and into the wider world. The label of plagiarist was no longer an accusation. It was fact, written into the narrative of my life. And while I stood there, faceless in a mask, Makoto's name rose higher than ever. Praised by academia, courted by industry, embraced by the media. And me? I was just a shadow he stepped on to shine. The cameras cut through the crowd like knives. George, do you have anything to say about the plagiarism scandal? That experiment shook the academic world. Even if you copied it, why risk everything? Rumor has it you're just the Ito family's adopted son, and the real owner of that research is your brother. After what you've done, will the Ito family even acknowledge you anymore? I had been walking fast, head down, desperate to slip away unnoticed. But at those words, I stopped. Slowly, I turned, eyes locking onto the camera lens. My fingers reached up, peeling off the mask I had been hiding behind. My voice came out low, steady, but carrying everything I had left. I'll say this one last time. I did not plagiarize. And whether the Ito family acknowledges me doesn't matter anymore, because I no longer acknowledge them. The crowd gasped, reporters leaning forward as if they'd just caught fire on tape. And then the black van door slammed open. Mr. Ito, with fury written on his face, pushed through the wall of microphones and students. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and struck me. The crack of the slap echoed across the courtyard. I hit the ground hard. Not one person moved to help me. Not one. Standing over me, Ito's father looked straight into the cameras, his tone righteous, rehearsed, devastating. Let me set the record straight. George is an adopted child. We brought him home from an orphanage, raised him as one of our own, gave him everything, love, care, opportunities. But his nature was always rebellious. He hates studying. He cheats. He lies. From high school entrance exams to the national college exams to university, he has always relied on dishonest means. And now, to feed his vanity, he dares plagiarize his brother's research. A child like this does not deserve to carry our name. From this day on, George is no longer connected to the Ito family in any way. The declaration dropped like a hammer. The crowd erupted in insults. Someone hurled a water bottle, still full. It slammed into my forehead, and the world spun into blackness. The sirens came next, red lights cutting through the chaos. An ambulance carried me away. When I woke, the hospital room was silent. Too silent. No family. No friends. Just the constant vibration of my phone on the nightstand. Against my better judgment, I reached for it. The screen lit up with a flood of messages, one after another, all spitting venom. Plagiarist. Traitor. Ingrate. My name wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to their hatred. This time, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. My face was empty, my body moving on its own as I stood, pushed the phone aside, and climbed step by step toward the rooftop. The air was sharp, the drop below endless. I stood at the edge, opened my hand, and let the wind slip through my fingers. One last taste of freedom. George. Her voice cut through the night, trembling with a panic I hadn't heard before. Willow. She came closer, her eyes scanning me, taking the hollow cheeks, the frail body leaning over the edge like a candle in the wind, her brow furrowed, voice breaking between command and pleading. George, come down. Right now. She thought, like always, that I'd fold, that I'd let her sweet words tether me back to her side. But I only smiled, a faint, broken curve of my lips. Willow, was it you? Did you hand over my lab notes to Makoto? Did you stand with the Itos to twist the truth and push me out of school? She froze. The silence told me more than words ever could. Finally, she spoke, her tone light coaxing. George, don't overthink it. Those things, they don't really matter to you. No matter what, you're still the Ito family's son and my fiancée. I'll make it up to you later. Don't be so stubborn. Once, hearing her say fiancé would have undone me. I would have swallowed my pride, rushed back into her arms, and pretended none of this ever happened. But not tonight. My chest burned, every breath heavier than the last. As I crouched down, arms wrapping around myself like I could hold the pieces together. That was when she reached out, grabbed me, and pulled me away from the edge. Relief softened her face as she sighed, looking down at me like I was just a child throwing a tantrum. George, I know you're upset, but don't act so extreme. It's dangerous. You're only doing this to make Makoto and me feel guilty, aren't you?" Her words cut deeper than any slap ever could, because in her eyes, my pain wasn't real. My struggle, my despair, none of it mattered. To her, it was all just stubbornness, a ploy for attention. And in that moment, I realized I couldn't waste my life on someone who never truly saw me, who never even tried. I stood quietly and walked away. Willow trailed behind, frustrated. Trying again. Her phone rang, Makoto's name flashing on the screen. She hesitated, frowned, then called out, "George, I meant what I said. I'll make it up to you." But her voice faded behind me. I was already back in the hospital room, closing the door on her, on them, on everything. Willow lingered in the hallway, unease twisting in her chest. For the first time, she felt something slipping through her fingers, something she might not get back. Her phone buzzed again. More messages from Makoto. He was upset too, and she couldn't risk leaving him alone. So, after a long moment, Willow turned and walked away, telling herself that when I calmed down, I'd come back to her like always. She believed it. She always had. But she was wrong. Back in the hospital room, George didn't linger. He gathered his papers with trembling hands and headed straight for the airport. At the terminal, he slipped his phone into the toilet, watching it sink like a final goodbye. No messages, no calls, no chains to the city anymore. The next morning, Willow rushed to the hospital, but the face on the bed was a stranger's. She grabbed the man's arm, panic rising in her throat. "Where's George?" The patient stared, startled, before hitting the nurse's call button. Soon, staff arrived, and one of them broke the news. Mr. George was discharged yesterday. Willow froze. Where did he go? The nurse, oblivious to who she was, raised an eyebrow. Shouldn't family members know that first? For once, Willow had no answer. She spun on her heel and stormed out, heading straight to the villa. Her calls rang into silence, each unanswered tone pressing against her chest. By the time she floored the gas pedal, frustration had already hardened into anger. Immature, that's what George was. Running away after everything. Once she got him home, she'd given the scolding of his life. But when she opened the villa door, all she found was silence. A housekeeper passed by, suitcase in hand. "Where's George?" Willow demanded. The woman looked confused. "Didn't Mr. Ito leave with you? He hasn't been back. Paid us in advance. Dismissed us all." Willow searched every room, every corner. Nothing. Rage bubbled inside her. She grabbed a vase and hurled it against the floor, shards scattering like her thoughts. George wanted to play runaway now. Pretending to jump off a building wasn't enough. He needed to disappear too? That night, the bar was alive with noise and lights, but Willow's booth was quiet as a tomb. Men tried their luck, flashing smiles and pickup lines, but the manager quickly waved them off. No one dared trouble Miss Lou. She just kept pouring whiskey, glass after glass, letting the burn chase away the gnawing ache inside. It had been a week since George vanished. A week of unanswered calls and ignored messages. For the first time, Willow had swallowed her pride, sending him soft words, coaxing ones. But not a single reply came. Irritation twisted with something heavier. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw George on that rooftop, curled up, smiling bitterly against the wind. The memory clawed at her heart. Maria slid into the booth, wrapping an arm around her. "What's going on with you? The manager says you've been here every night. Even Makoto's asking why you're ignoring him." Willow brushed her off and poured her a drink. "It's nothing. I'll call Makoto later." Maria studied her. Something about Willow felt off. She hesitated before asking, "Have you seen George?" The question caught Maria off guard. Willow hardly ever said his name. "George is missing," Willow admitted softly. "I've been looking for him for a week. Nothing. No trace." Maria gave a dry laugh. "Missing? Come on, Willow. You know him. Manipulative, always playing games. This is just another stunt. He'll vanish, let everyone stew, then come back when it suits him. That's how he works." But Willow stayed silent, furrow deepening as she drowned another glass. At first, She'd told herself the same thing. But this time, something felt different. Too long. Too quiet. Maria sighed, watching her. She thought Willow was done with George, that she'd cut him off without looking back. But the way she sat there, restless and raw, it was clear she still cared. And Makoto? He adored Willow. He didn't deserve the shadow hanging between them. Maria decided she'd have to do something about it. Tomorrow's Makoto's birthday. She reminded Willow as she got up. Come early and ease up on the drinking. Willow didn't answer. Hours later, she stumbled into the empty villa. Shoes kicked off, head pounding. Instinct made her call out. George. Nothing. Just silence. In the kitchen, the sight of dirty cups left a mold hit her harder than she expected. George would never have left it like this. He would have been there with honey water for her hangover, millet porridge simmering on the stove. Now the air smelled stale, and the warmth was gone. She opened the medicine cabinet, searching for relief, but the box of stomach pills she often relied on was missing. For the first time, it struck her like a knife. George wasn't coming back. The guests arrived early, their arms full of gifts and well wishes. But Willow came last. Even after a shower, the faint trace of alcohol clung to her, carrying with it a weariness she had never shown before. A kind of fragile elegance, touched with dishevel. Makoto hesitated, then walked forward with that boyish warmth he always wore for her. He slipped his hand into hers, smiling softly. Willow, you're finally here. I've been waiting forever. She forced a smile back. Sorry, Makoto. I've been busy these past few days. I forgot your present. Disappointment flickered across his face, but Willow smoothed it over with a gentle rub of his hand. Don't pout. After the party, we'll pick something out together. I'll make it up to you. That promise was enough. Makoto's lips curved into a shy smile, his gaze swimming with a boyish affection that almost looked like devotion. The banquet began, laughter spilling across the hall, glasses clinking like bells. Makoto stood at the center, glowing like a prince among stars. Maria lifted her glass and nudged Willow. Come on, let's wish Makoto a happy birthday. Willow rose stiffly, raising her glass. Happy birthday, Makoto. Maria grinned, mischief in her tone. So, Makoto, make a wish. Say it out loud. Whatever it is, Willow will make it come true. The moment was planned. A birthday confession, rehearsed by Maria and Makoto. They were sure Willow wouldn't reject him. Not in front of so many eyes. Makoto lowered his head shyly. Willow, you've always known how I feel. Aye. But before he could finish, Willow cut him off. Her voice was calm, but firm. Makoto, I've always seen you as a younger brother. My boyfriend is George. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The words carried far enough to silence the table. Makoto's heart seemed to shatter right there, humiliation burning his face. But George is gone, he stammered. No, Willow said, steady as stone. He's just angry. Once he cools down, he'll come back. I know he will. The room grew heavy. The Ito parents exchanged tight looks, displeasure simmering in their eyes. They couldn't lash out, not with the Liu family watching, but their words dripped with disdain. Willow, you know the truth. The engagement was always meant to be between you and Makoto. When he disappeared, we let George take his place. But now that Makoto has returned, the engagement belongs to him again. Besides, what is George compared to Makoto? Reckless, rude, corrupt. He's nothing next to our son. In the past, such words would have slipped past Willow's ears. But tonight, they cut deep. George had his flaws, yes, but in this scandal, he had been the one wronged. And if they kept smearing him like this, he might never come back. Willow set her glass down and rose to her feet. Her voice was polite, but her presence carried weight. The past is past. Makoto suffered once, yes, but now George suffers too. From now on, I'll make it up to Makoto, and I'll take care of George as well. Just don't let me hear anyone speak of him that way again. Her words weren't loud, but the edge beneath them reminded the Ito family who she was. Not just a sentimental girl, but the sole heir of the Liu name. Silence followed. Maria said nothing. The Ito parents dared not press further. One by one, the guests began to drift away, leaving the air heavy with tension. Makoto's chest burned with frustration, but he swallowed it down, too afraid to show it. After the banquet, Willow took him out shopping. Luxury bags, expensive brands. She bought them all for him. He didn't quite understand her, but the weight of those gifts in his hands dulled his disappointment. The next day, dressed in designer from head to toe, Makoto bragged among his classmates until a call summoned him to the research building. Since stealing George's experiment, he had to keep showing his face in the lab just to maintain appearances. "What now? Why me?" he muttered, dragging himself into the conference room. But his complaint died the moment he met a pair of piercing eyes. At the head of the table sat a girl with sharp features and a presence that outshone everyone in the room. Young, barely an adult, but in her sleek black suit, she radiated authority. Their professor rose, gesturing toward her. "This is Alicia, a representative from the Tracy McGrady Group, the largest biomedical corporation in the United States. She's here to discuss acquiring our lab." Makoto barely paid attention until Alicia's gaze locked on him. "I heard Makoto achieved remarkable success with molecular fission experiment," she said smoothly. "An achievement so impressive, it's drawn international attention. Mr. Ito, why don't you replicate the results for us, right here and now?" Her Mandarin was imperfect, but her intent was clear. She rose to her feet, extending her hand in challenge. The professor tried to intervene, but Alicia's icy stare silenced him instantly. Despite her age, the girl carried a presence that could silence an entire room. Her voice cut sharp through the air. "If you want your research recognized, reproducibility is the bare minimum. Or do you want the world to call your lab a fraud?" The professor froze, words dying in his throat, while Alicia's bodyguard dragged Makoto toward the lab bench. He knew he couldn't replicate the results. Panic clawed at him, but Alicia's warning was merciless.